If your family lives military life day to day as a service member or a spouse, you already know that plans change fast. A surprise PCS cost, a delayed paycheck, or a last-minute trip home. And when those moments hit, the real question is, are you ready for them financially? The reality is, many military families aren't. In fact, in our March 2026 Financial Behaviors Index survey, nearly 3 in 10 families point to unexpected expenses as a major barrier to pursuing their financial goals. That's why emergency savings matter. They can help you handle the unexpected without relying on credit cards or pulling from long-term goals. To give you a better idea of the vital role that emergency savings can play, I'll cover what counts as an emergency, offer some suggestions on how much to save, and provide some ways you can begin building up your savings. So, what counts as a real emergency? Let's begin with the obvious. Not every expense is an emergency expense. Think of emergency expenses as the ones that don't give you a choice. You didn't plan for them, you can't put them off, and you have to deal with them right away. For military families, emergency expenses often show up in a few common ways. Covering out-of-pocket PCS costs while waiting for reimbursements, paying for last-minute travel because of a family emergency, making repairs because a vehicle's unsafe or unusable, getting through delays in pay during a PCS, deployment change, or transition, or covering the cost of lodging or meals when housing plans fall through. These are the moments emergency savings are meant for. The situations where waiting just isn't realistic. On the other hand, expenses you know are coming like car maintenance, insurance premiums, or planned moves are not really emergencies. Those are better handled through your regular budget. When you look at an emergency expense this way, the purpose of those savings becomes much clearer. And once you're clear on what you're preparing for, it becomes easier to think realistically about how much you actually need to set aside. There isn't a single dollar amount that works for every military family. For many, a practical starting point is emergency savings equal to about 2 to 3 months of income. But that's just a guideline. It's important to think about your own situation. If you own a home, support a larger family, or have higher monthly expenses, emergencies can cost more. And having additional savings can give you more flexibility when something comes up. And if your household relies heavily on a civilian spouse's income, or your family is preparing for a major transition like separating from the military, building closer to 6 months of income in emergency savings may add an extra layer of security. Having a target gives you direction. What matters most is getting started and building towards that goal over time. Building an emergency fund doesn't require dramatic changes. It's really about consistency. Start by setting savings goals that match your income and responsibilities, instead of the ideal version of where you think you should be. It also helps to be clear about the situations you're preparing for. PCS expenses, deployments, transitions, or family events all create different pressures. Having those differences in mind makes savings feel a lot more intentional. Steady contributions tend to work better than trying to do too much at once. There are several different techniques for building up savings. Choose the one that best fits your situation. Even smaller amounts saved regularly can build momentum over time. Temporary increases in your income can help too. A pay raise, special or combat pay, a bonus, an inheritance, or a tax refund offer an excellent way to boost your emergency fund without straining your regular budget. And remember, your savings goals shouldn't stay fixed. Revisit them after moves, promotions, deployments, or changes at home to help keep your emergency fund aligned with what you actually need. Over time, as you see that balance grow, emergency savings start to feel less like a chore and more like an important part of keeping your family financially steady. Emergency savings gives your family room to adjust when plans shift, which in military life happens often. That flexibility can make a real difference over time. When you build your emergency fund gradually and track it closely, it becomes part of how your family stays steady through change. If you found this information helpful, subscribe for more financial guidance created specifically for military families.